This is Whisper from History, where forgotten voices rise again. If you missed our 32-episode Season 1, Dark History, watch the full playlist on our channel. In the darkness of the night, when the cold winds of the Rocky Mountains howl through the silence and the old railway tracks glimmer softly beneath the pale moonlight, they say there's a name whispered through the mist, a train that never runs on schedule, the Phantom Train of Colorado. They say it's not just a story, it's a journey where time itself stopped, and even science fell silent. What was so mysterious about this train? Stay with us because we're about to travel into that realm, where only the night, the wind, and the secrets speak to each other. Under the shadow of the Rocky Mountains, where the winds howl through empty passes, and the rails of forgotten lines shimmer beneath the moonlight, there are whispers of a train that should not exist. A locomotive that runs no schedule, carries no passengers, and yet still thunders through the night. Locals call it the Phantom Train of Colorado. It began, as many ghost stories do, with something ordinary, a small mining town, a handful of workers, and a railway meant to bring life into the mountains. The year was 1884, and the Denver and Rio Grande Western Railroad had just begun expanding deep into Colorado's high country. The gold rush was over, but silver had taken its place, drawing hundreds of desperate men into the San Juan Mountains. Among them was Thomas Whitley, a railway engineer known for his precision and pride. He'd been tasked with overseeing the construction of a new branch, a route that would cut through the steep cliffs between Silverton and Animas Forks, a perilous path of tunnels, bridges, and treacherous curves. Thomas kept meticulous notes. In his journal, found years later, he described the mountains as alive, breathing with a cold, metallic heart. His words, poetic as they were, hinted at something deeper, a growing unease among the crew. At first it was just strange noises in the night, the faint sound of wheels on tracks when no train was scheduled, whistles echoing through the canyons, but soon things took a darker turn. Workers began reporting sightings, a glowing engine appearing around bends, lights flickering through fog, the distant rhythm of an engine that faded before anyone could locate it. Most dismissed it as imagination fatigue from long hours in thin mountain air, but then something happened that changed everything. On November 7, 1884, a supply train left Silverton before dawn. Its destination was a mining camp near Eureka, carrying timber, ore, and 20 men. The route was narrow. Carved along the cliff edge, that morning fog rolled in thick as wool, and visibility dropped to nothing. Halfway through the canyon something went wrong. The signal lanterns disappeared in the mist. The next thing anyone knew, silence. By afternoon, a search party set out. What they found was devastation. The train had derailed on a sharp bend, plunging into the ravine below. The wreck was twisted, metal and splintered wood. Every man aboard was killed. Thomas Whitley, the engineer, was never found. His pocket watch, however, was recovered frozen at 3:17 a.m. The line was shut down for months. Repairs were ordered, investigations held. Officially, it was ruled a mechanical failure, a brake malfunction, but the locals didn't buy it. The survivors who found the wreck swore they'd heard something just before the crash, another whistle, another train, but no such train had been scheduled that night. The legend grew quickly. By 1885, stories spread of a ghost locomotive seen racing along the cliffs, its wheels burning white, its whistle echoing like a scream. One miner described it as a light in the fog, rolling faster than any engine should, and then gone like smoke into the stars. For a while, the company ignored it. But when several more accidents followed, trains derailing in clear weather breaks, locking for no reason, whispers turned to panic. Crews began refusing night shifts. Superstitions took root. Some claimed to see the specter of Whitley himself, standing by the tracks, lantern in hand, motioning to a train that wasn't there. And then came the incident of 1888. A telegraph operator stationed near Animas Canyon reported receiving a transmission. Morse code tapping out from a train that should have been miles away. The message was brief. Fog thick. Can't see ahead. Tell them I'm sorry. It was signed, T.W. Thomas Whitley. The operator, shaken, logged the time, 3:17 a.m. By the turn of the century, the story of the phantom train had become part of Colorado folklore. But then, something unexpected happened. Evidence began to surface. In 1902, a photographer named Henry Callahan traveled through Silverton, documenting old mining routes. One night, camping near the abandoned track, he was awakened by what he later described as a thunder that came from nowhere. He grabbed his camera, a large boxy Kodak with a slow shutter, and managed to take a single photograph before the sound vanished. The image, developed days later, showed the faint outline of a locomotive glowing faintly in the dark. Skeptics dismissed it as a trick of exposure, but when Callahan compared the photo to old railway records, one detail stood out. The number on the engine 407 matched the train that had crashed 18 years earlier. For decades, the legend drifted between myth and memory, but in 1956, the tracks were rediscovered during a survey for a new highway. Most of the rails had rusted away, swallowed by moss and dirt. But deep within one of the old tunnels, the surveyors found something strange, a set of fresh steel marks on the stone. It was as if something massive had passed through just days before, but there were no tracks leading in, and none leading out. Locals still talk about it. Hikers on misty nights claim to hear the low hum of an approaching train, feel the vibration underfoot, and then nothing. Some say the train appears only to those who are lost, that if you listen closely, you can hear voices, men calling for help, shouting warnings, their words carried away by the wind. One witness in 1972 described it perfectly. It wasn't just the sound. It was the feeling like time itself had slipped, and for a second, you weren't sure what century you were standing in. But as with all ghost stories, there's another layer, a theory that ties the supernatural to the scientific. In the 1980s, a group of historians and physicists studying electromagnetic anomalies in the Rockies began examining the legend. They discovered that the old mining routes crossed regions of high magnetic flux caused by iron and silver deposits beneath the earth. Their hypothesis: under the right conditions, temperature, humidity, atmospheric charge, these minerals could act like natural recording devices. In other words, the mountain itself might be replaying the past. Could the phantom train be an echo in time? A moment so traumatic, a crash, so violent that it imprinted on the landscape itself. The idea fascinated scientists, but it terrified locals, because if true, it meant that the screams heard in the fog weren't ghosts at all, they were memories, trapped forever in the rock. By the early 2000s, paranormal researchers began conducting night vigils along what remained of the line. Thermal cameras picked up unexplained heat signatures moving at impossible speeds. Audio recorders captured low-frequency rumbles that mirrored train engines. And then came one of the most chilling findings. At exactly 3:17 a.m., on 3 separate nights, recorders picked up the faint rhythmic pattern of Morse code. 3 dots, 3 dashes, 3 dots. It would be easy to dismiss it all. Coincidence, folklore, wishful thinking, but there's something about the story of the phantom train that refuses to fade. The railway no longer exists. The tunnels are sealed, the bridges long collapsed. Yet, each year reports keep coming: hikers, campers, even truckers along the highway, swearing they've seen lights flickering in the canyon below. The sound of a whistle, the glint of steel, and always the same time, 3:17 a.m. Some historians have suggested that Whitley's final act, driving the train into the canyon, wasn't an accident at all. They point to a series of telegrams sent the day before the crash. In one, Whitley complained about faulty brakes. In another, he mentioned being pressured by company officials to keep to schedule despite mechanical issues. The last message, sent to his wife, read simply, "If the mountain takes me, let it be quick." Was it resignation or a warning? There's one final detail rarely told, but found in the company archives decades later. During the recovery of the wreck in 1884, workers noted something odd. The train's whistle lever was found in the upright position, jammed tight, meaning it was blowing when it fell. That sound, that haunting wail echoing through the canyon, may have been the last thing those men ever heard. Maybe that's why it still echoes today. In 2019, a drone operator surveying the San Juan wilderness captured something eerie on film. A faint light streaking along a ridge at impossible speed, following the path of the long-vanished track. When slowed down, frame by frame, the outline was unmistakable. A locomotive. And on its side, though blurred by motion, a single number stood out. 407. Every mountain town in Colorado has its ghosts, but few carry the weight of this one, the echo of iron wheels on forgotten rails. The whistle that splits the night air, and the memory of men who never came home. Some say the phantom train is cursed, others believe it's trapped in a loop, repeating that doomed journey forever. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain. When the fog rolls through Animas Canyon, and the air grows heavy with the scent of steel and smoke, you don't stand near the tracks, because, at *3:17 a.m., a train that should not exist may come roaring out of the dark, its headlight cutting through the mist, its whistle crying for a world that left it behind. And if you listen closely enough, you might just hear Thomas Whitley whisper, from somewhere deep within the mountain, "Tell them, I'm sorry." They say, if you dare, you can stand near Animas Canyon at exactly 3:17 a.m. The ground begins to tremble, just a little, and through the thick fog, a single light emerges, just like it did back in 1884. That's when you'll know. The phantom train has returned, and from that moment on, the next step you take might be your last. Would you wait for that train? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our Unsolved Paranormal Events playlist for more mysterious stories like this one, because the next secret might be hiding closer to your town than you think.